Welcome to Real Clear Radio Hour, brought to you by the Competitive Enterprise Institute. I'm your host, Bill Frezza. This week, we reach across the world again, this time to Latin America and the Middle East. In the second half of our show, we'll be joined by Serge Pierpoint, manager of Panama's Cologne Free Trade Zone, to discuss his country's efforts to make the most out of the widening of the Panama Canal. Up first, we're pleased to welcome Ricardo Karam, talking to us via Skype from Kuwait. Ricardo is the Charlie Rose of Lebanon, a longtime television presenter, producer, and talk show host on a mission to change the Arab world. Ricardo, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Ricardo, I asked you on because there are so few voices of reason reaching American audiences from the Arab world. Every day, the news reinforces stereotypes of Arab brutality. I'd like to open our conversation by reading a few verses of a piece you wrote this past December for the Takreem Awards. The Arab world is bleeding. It is time to say enough is enough. Our sacred soil is saturated with the blood of too many innocent victims. Is it not time to ask ourselves why we as Arabs cannot live in peace? Is it not time to live in prosperity and joy like other developed nations? Is it not time for us to stop killing one another in the name of religion, sectarianism, and ethnicity? Ricardo, who are you and why are you on this mission?
It's a very complex question. I think the answer won't be very easy, but I'll try to summarize as much as I can. I'm a Lebanese citizen born in Venezuela in South America, two opposite countries in the values they carry and in the politics they follow, and in the patterns compatriots usually adopt in their life. Since I was aware of what was happening around me, I witnessed wars, and I only witnessed wars and bleeding and people dying. And in my long memory, I remember seeing young people carrying coffins around me. So I've always dealt with that, and I have always put a plan in my mind that I want to give hope to myself, then giving hope to the people around me, and then triggering a change to the community I belong to.
And Ricardo, your chosen path has been through media, first as a talk show host and then later with television?
Everything was a twist of fate. I cannot say they were a stroke of luck, because nothing in my academic background would have eventually put me where I am today. I was about to be a chemical engineer, and this is what I've studied. And then I was so fond of music, I used to spend all my pocket money buying LPs at that time. I did not have the CDs, if you recall well. And I was a radio broadcaster. I was 16 years old, and I loved the music world. I loved the radio world. I loved the contact, the live part with the audience. And the radio put me on a path I never thought I would be following and pursuing. I had an offer to do a TV show, and I was 21 years old. The beginnings were awful. I loved those beginnings, and I recall them very fondly. But they were primarily my school, and they were my college. I pursued my studies, it's true, but at the same time, I started doing those TV shows, and the TV became my life. And everything was rotating and revolving around TV.
And you've built a pretty big following in the Middle East. Most of your shows are in Arabic, so we haven't seen many of them here. And along the way, interviewed all sorts of people, personalities, and powerful forces in your region.
Not only in the region, I've been all over the world. I have met the Dalai Lama and Haram Saleh. I have met Nelson Mandela in South Africa. I've been to the States, and I have met so many people, from Luciano Pavarotti to Mike Tyson, to Celine Dion. I've been to Brazil, where I've met Paulo Coelho and Pelé, etc. So I've been all over, and I have always been interested in the human nature. I've always been tempted by this chemistry with the other. And I guess my studies in chemical engineering enabled me to perform well and to ignite a positive outcome and a prosperous chemical reaction with the other. So this is why the human being was my main target. And this is why I have met so many personalities from different backgrounds. And I owe them everything, because I am what I am because of those encounters.
Well, Ricardo, let's take that perspective and perhaps go on a tour of the Middle East, highlighting both the promises and perils that face each country. Let's start with Lebanon, perhaps best known for exporting talented people escaping endemic political dysfunction. I just got back from a visit there, and in truth, Lebanon should be a paradise. Is the country cursed?
I don't believe in curse. I believe that people create a nation and they make up their nation, they build it up. And I guess the Lebanese, instead of being fully committed to their country, they are spread over the different communities they belong to. We have in Lebanon 17 communities. Can you imagine? And each community follows its leader, whether a political one or a religious one. And usually politics and religion are mixed up. There was, I wouldn't say an osmosis, but there was a lot of similarities and they back up each other. So this is why people are scattered. They are divided, and instead of being united in the sake of the country, each one loves its country. Everyone loves Lebanon, but they love it differently. So this is why there is this division that many people feel. If you go to the southern part of Lebanon, you experience another pulse than in being in Beirut, or rather than being in Mount Lebanon, or rather than going to the Bekaa Valley, etc. So each region has its own specificities and particularities. And this is the peculiar thing about Lebanon. This is the interesting part of Lebanon. Cursed, no, I disagree. We've been for years and decades, actually, a great platform for other Arab countries to fight each other.
Proxy battles.
Yeah, and with a lack of funding and of powerful economy in Lebanon, the political money that has always been injected in Lebanon to the different political parties has helped in igniting or in reinforcing the civil war or the different battles in Lebanon. Now, with what's happening around us, you feel there is no more money being injected. And you have wars now in Syria, in Yemen, in Iraq, in Palestine, in Egypt, or all over. You get different parts of wars, if not, persistent one. You have battles occurring here. You've got explosions. You have got kamikazes. You've got ISIS. It's a different era today, a different era.
Let's zero in on the current bleeding hotspot, which is Syria. Aleppo is the most recent city to be reduced to rubble, and despite half-baked ceasefire efforts, there appears to be no end in sight in the multi-sided civil war there. Are there any paths open to peace in Syria?
I don't know if it's only a civil war in Syria. I wonder if it is more an international decision to make this war happen and develop and not to end. We all wonder where those weapons are coming from and who is taking part into that war. Is Turkey part of it? Is Iran part of it? Is Russia part of it? Who is behind ISIS? Is there any decision to eradicate this fundamental movement? Is there really a serious decision to get rid of it? Or on the contrary, they want to reinforce it to make it even better and stronger? So this is why I beg to differ with you on the word civil war in Syria. I don't think that the civil society or Syrians themselves, they want this war to continue and not to end. I think it's a very big decision, and Syria is not a small country. Syria is at the heart of the Arab world, and by destabilizing Syria, you are completely dysfunctioning the balance of the Arab world.
So the people there are more like pawns in the great game.
Definitely.
Saudi Arabia is clearly one of the key players in the region, and along with oil, Saudi Arabia's main export is Wahhabism, said to be part of a deal the ruling family made years ago to consolidate its power. Is this likely to change as power passes to young Deputy Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman?
I strongly believe that Mohammed bin Salman is embracing the future. He is a very promising prince. And the changes that have been implemented within less than a year are tremendous and are so big. The beginnings were so fearful, and everybody was skeptical, and everybody, was afraid and was wondering what's happening there. Personally, it's my own opinion. I guess he is projecting the coming 20 and 50 years and 100 years. I think the young prince is a very promising one, is a very smart guy, and I commend him on what he's doing, and I have a full confidence in the new era beginning now in KSA.
There's been a lot of talk of diversifying the Saudi economy away from its dependence on oil, using its massive sovereign wealth fund. Does this risk turning Saudi Arabia into a rentier state with a rest of unemployed populace living on welfare?
KSA cannot remain as it is. KSA should definitely look beyond the oil they have. They really need to look at the future, and they have to take with them many Arab countries that are under their umbrella. We should not forget that, especially the Levant region, populations work in Saudi Arabia. They work in the Gulf, but especially in Saudi Arabia. It's a rich country, and it has to remain as such. And by taking it 20 years ahead, they are taking with them all those small countries living from the support of Saudi Arabia. Levantines have got no gas, no oil, no natural resources. The only thing they have is their mind, their spirit, their willpower, and the willingness of being productive and of working. The Gulf is a great platform for that. I'm not afraid. On the contrary, I guess that the coming years are going to be really prosperous and optimistic for the whole region. And I reiterate, these are personal opinions.
Ricardo, one of the biggest success stories in the Middle East has got to be Dubai. Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum has been described as the Arab world's most enlightened despot. The economic miracle he's pulled off in Dubai, pursuing a policy of free trade, low taxes, and English commercial law, is obvious for everyone to see. How relevant is that model for other Arab countries?
Dubai is not only a model for Arab countries. Dubai is a model for the whole world. Imagine a desert. You create a small paradise where people come from all over. People now are coming from Switzerland, Germany, UK, France, the USA, Russia, and several parts of the world. They come, they settle, they live, they make businesses. Sheikh Mohammed, along with a professional team and experts, have created a remarkable model, and they have made the life of hundreds of thousands of people easy. The Dubai airport has got a traffic much more than Heathrow Airport. Mm-hmm. Can you believe that? Yeah. People love to be there. It's a safe country. It's a safe place. And their services are remarkable. And everybody enjoys whatever he or she likes to do.
Did Lebanon miss its chance to become Dubai?
I think Lebanon is different from Dubai. Two different identities, two different histories, and two different platforms. What Dubai is, Lebanon cannot be, and what Lebanon is, Dubai cannot be. A long time ago, a former president, Amin Jumayel, said, "Give us peace and you will see what will surprise the whole world." And exactly, give us peace and I think Lebanon will do miracles. Lebanese all over the world have transcended, and they have been remarkably acclaimed on all levels: humanitarian, social, economic, environmental, scientific. They have always been at the lead, and they've always been at top positions in different organizations and companies and hospitals, etc. So imagine we have peace, and imagine we are using those different human resources to make out of our country a paradise, and we can do it.
Peace in the Middle East requires an accommodation with Iran. And of course, Iran is not an Arabic country. It's a Persian country with a history and culture that's very different. If you look back, Iran was once a paragon of Western values before Ayatollah Khomeini took power. Do you ever see Western values returning to Iran?
I've been to Iran, and I believe that the life patterns in every home is a Western pattern. Forget about what you see outside. And this applies, in Saudi Arabia. This applies in different Arab countries where what you see Are women maybe wearing chadors or black, etc.? But you go inside and you see people living the way you live, the way I live. Iran is a beautiful country. Of course, whenever there is a change in the regime, there is a transition period. And I believe that a reform is going to be implemented soon. And the coming 10 years, we'll be witnessing a new Iran, maybe better than before, maybe not like before, but of course, not like the Iran of today.
Your optimism, I hope, becomes infectious, and a country that can certainly use it is Egypt. Egypt is the Arab world's most populous country. The Arab Spring fizzled out there, leaving only a corrupt military junta behind. Must Egypt always be ruled by tyrants, or is there an alternative?
I disagree with you. Egypt has not been run by totalitarian regimes, even under the regime of Mohammed Hosni Mubarak or the Muslim Brotherhood. Egypt has always been a democracy. People have always said whatever they wanted. There was a freedom in the press and the media, and people demonstrate. They say whatever they want to say. And actually, they were the ones who triggered a change in the regime. The unicity and what make Egyptian people different from others is this cohesion between the different communities when it comes to their country. And you forget about Sunnah and about the Copt Christians. They all glue to each other for the sake of keeping their country united. And this is what has saved Egypt, because if it deteriorated, I guess it would have been one of the biggest civil wars in the history. But look, of course, we had hundreds of people who were killed and thousands of people who were injured, and a lot of demonstrations happening and strikes, but Egypt was saved. And I believe now, under the leadership of Sisi, even if not a lot of changes are being implemented, what matters is that safety is here, security is here, and I am optimistic. I don't know why. I'm optimistic vis-a-vis the different parts of the Arab world, unlike many people who are seeing the worst happening. I guess it's an organized chaos, what we are now witnessing and living, but this organized chaos will be triggering a stability in the future.
Speaking of an opportunity for optimism, we look back at the three great Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. They all share the same jealous and vengeful God of the Old Testament, and all three have a history of violence. Yet only Islam has yet to experience a reformation, introducing the moderating influences of what we call the Enlightenment. Do you see a path ahead for Islam for that kind of profound change?
This is a very tough and complex question. I don't know. I don't know to what extent the religion will be keeping on ruling the politics and leading the political patterns in the different Islamic countries. I truly hope, and I deeply hope, that religion and politics will spread and will not conquer. Because if religion keeps being involved in politics, we will remain where we are, and things will remain stagnant and latent. I believe that God gives believers the power, and I believe that courage is not the absence of fear, it is the triumph over that fear. We all believe, though three religions, communities believe, they all want peace, and they all want to live in a prosperous environment, in a healthy one. I am optimistic, and I want my kids to grow and to live in the Middle East and not to have to leave. We are French, we have French citizenship, we have a house in Paris. This is not the issue, but we want to live in Beirut. And this is what anybody says, and everybody says, whether they are Egyptians, or Saudis, or Emiratis, or Syrians, or Jordanians, or Palestinians. They all want to live in their respective home countries. And I want to hope, and I pray every day, really, that politics will be spared from religion And if this is the case, I think the future will be a positive one.
Ricardo, you've chosen to focus on highlighting the successes of entrepreneurs and other leaders in the Arab world. Tell us about the Takreem Awards.
As you've mentioned in your introduction, the last 2 decades have witnessed world events that have tarnished the image of the Arab world. And I was the first one on TV to introduce these success stories spread all over the world. The people got to know Nicholas Haig, the guy who initiated these watches. They got to know Paul Orfali, the guy who founded Kinko's. People got to know Zaha Hadid, the famous architect, through my TV shows. And I always told myself I need to create a platform that would be more sustainable. So in 2010, an idea stemmed out of my TV shows. And that idea was Takreem. Takreem was established with a fundamental perseverance to counteract these sensitivities and to change the region's misconceptions by exposing to the outside world different arrays of talents. So every year we try to spot different achievers from different fields, and we try to give hope to the youth by telling that youth, look at those examples, you can make it as well. This is hope. We are nurturing them with hope. I believe that we must all commit to finding solutions, and these cannot always, nor automatically, be military and security solutions. Takreem is an inspirational model to encourage new generations and to portray a positive image about the Arab world. I want to have a Lebanese passport and be able to travel and to go from one airport to another without being looked at as a third world country citizen. I want people to look at me as a normal human being because I'm like you, and we share a lot of similarities, and definitely we have a lot of differences. And I hope that this platform will reach its goals in the future, will grow, and will attain the objectives I have put in the beginning.
Ricardo, thanks so much for coming on and sharing your perspective with us and your hope for the future. Good luck.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Bill.
That was Lebanese television producer and talk show host Ricardo Karam speaking to us from Kuwait here on Real Clear Radio Hour, brought to you by the Competitive Enterprise Institute. I'm your host, Bill Frezza. You can check out Real Clear Radio Hour on Facebook or follow us on Twitter at Real Clear Frezza. And while you're at it, take a look at realclearmarkets.com, my go-to place for diverse views on political economics. We'd like to thank our long-term sponsor, Old Boston Restorations, for their support. Old Boston is a boutique property management company in Boston's South End. Ahead, we'll speak with Serge Pierpoint, manager of the Cologne Free Trade Zone, about Panama's efforts to keep that country's economy on the growth fast track. Stay tuned.